In the heart of ancient Persia, in a palace shimmering with gold and power, a hidden story was unfolding. One that would turn the tides of history and show that true courage can rise from silence. King Xerxes ruled the empire, and he loved his parties. One lasted 180 days. That's 6 months of non-stop splendor. But his final feast was just for Susa's elite. Wine flowed, music played, and then on the last night, in a drunken impulse, Xerxes summoned Queen Vashti. He wanted to show off her beauty. But Vashti said no, in front of everyone. Her refusal shattered the illusion of royal control. Embarrassed and enraged, the king stripped Vashti of her crown. She was gone. A new queen had to be found. Across the empire, the most beautiful young women were gathered and taken to the king's harem. One of them was Esther, a young Jewish orphan raised in secret by her cousin Mordecai. No one knew her true identity. Mordecai told her to keep it that way. Esther was wise, graceful, and stunning. When her turn came, she didn't beg or boast. She simply carried herself with dignity. King Xerxes was captivated. He placed the royal crown on her head and made her queen. But this wasn't just a fairy tale. Trouble was brewing behind palace walls. One day Mordecai overheard a plot. 2 guards were planning to assassinate the king. Mordecai passed the message to Esther, who told Xerxes, giving full credit to her cousin. The plot was stopped. The story was written in the royal records, then forgotten. Meanwhile, a man named Haman was rising. He wasn't just powerful, he was ruthless. Xerxes made him second in command. Every official was ordered to bow before him, and they did. Everyone except Mordecai. Haman was furious. He found out Mordecai was a Jew and decided it wasn't enough to punish one man. He wanted to wipe out the entire Jewish people. A royal decree went out. All Jews, young and old, were to be annihilated on that day, their possessions free for the taking. The city of Susa was thrown into chaos. But Haman and the king sat down to drink. Mordecai tore his clothes, covered himself in sackcloth, and wept in the streets. Across the kingdom, Jews mourned. Esther heard about Mordecai's grief and sent clothes, but he refused. Then came the message that would change everything. Mordecai revealed Haman's plan. He urged Esther to go to the king and beg for her people. But there was a deadly catch. Anyone who approached the king without being summoned could be executed. Esther hesitated. So Mordecai sent this chilling reminder. Don't think that because you're in the palace you'll be spared. If you stay silent, help will come from somewhere else. But you and your family will perish. And who knows, maybe you were made queen for such a time as this. That hit hard. Esther sent her reply. Tell everyone to fast for 3 days, no food, no water. I'll do the same. Then I'll go to the king, even if it costs me my life. On the 3rd day she put on her royal robes. Heart pounding, she stepped into the inner court. Xerxes looked up and smiled. He extended the golden scepter. Her life was spared. What is your request? He asked. Even half the kingdom, it's yours. But Esther didn't rush. She invited the king and Haman to a private banquet. There she invited them again for another banquet the next day. Haman was riding high. He boasted to his wife and friends about his wealth, his power, and now his exclusive dinner with the queen. But, he said bitterly, none of it matters while Mordecai still refuses to bow. His wife had an idea. Build a gallows, 50 cubits high. Ask the king to hang Mordecai on it tomorrow. Haman loved it. That night the king couldn't sleep. He asked for the royal records to be read aloud, and there it was. The forgotten tale of how Mordecai had saved his life. What honor did he receive? Xerxes asked. None, the attendant said. Just then Haman walked in. Before Haman could speak, the king asked, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Thinking it was about him, Haman said, dress him in royal robes, put him on the king's horse, parade him through the city proclaiming, this is what's done for the man the king delights to honor. Perfect, Xerxes said. Go do all that for Mordecai. Haman was horrified. He had to lead the very man he hated through the city in honor. Humiliated, he rushed home, but there was no time to sulk. He was whisked away to Esther's second banquet. There, over wine, the king asked again, "What is your request?" Esther looked him in the eye. "Spare my life and spare my people. We have been sold for destruction." The king froze. "Who dared do this?" Esther turned and pointed. "This vile Haman." Silence fell. Haman's face drained of color. Xerxes stormed out into the garden. Haman, desperate, fell at Esther's feet. When the king returned and saw him on the couch near Esther, he shouted, "Will he even assault the queen while I'm here?" It was over. A guard stepped forward and said, "There's a gallows at Haman's house, built for Mordecai. Hang him on it," the king ordered. And just like that, the executioner's noose meant for the innocent became the downfall of the wicked.